you for tuning in to the GSMC Deadball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the Vikings win over the Green Bay Packers. We'll also discuss the Commanders. They got an overtime win over the Atlanta Falcons. We'll be discussing the Bengals and whether or not they can sneak into the playoffs with their win over Denver. We'll talk about the Rams clinching the NFC West Division title through the tiebreakers and their win, of course, over the Arizona Cardinals. And please stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be giving you my reaction to the Lakers trading D'Lo and the Kings firing Mike Brown. Before we start off, if you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Just use the super chat button at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message get read on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the GSMCpodcast.net to tip, donate, or leave a comment or question there. Again, we couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off with the big game from this weekend. One of the bigger games of this weekend, the Minnesota Vikings, them taking on the Green Bay Packers. It was a wild one in terms of one team coming in with 13 wins, the other team, with 11 wins, trying to improve their seeding as much as possible. It was a really high stakes game for both teams. Minnesota, they needed it to keep their bid for that number one seed alive into week 18, which they now find themselves in a win and get the number one seed sort of scenario, which is crazy. The fact that they're 14-2 and they still have not, and they still need to win their final game just to get the one seed. But that's just how competitive that top of the NFC has been between them, the Philadelphia Eagles as well, and then obviously the Detroit Lions, who have the inside track to finish as the number one seed. But Green Bay, they got the win. Minnesota, they got the win, and Sam Darnold played one hell of a game. 33 of 43, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns. Had an interception, and the interception, was his fault. But apart from that interception, played a marvelous, clean football game. And look, I have to say, what Sam Darnold has done, even the big important games like this game as well, some of the big time performances he has had has been absolutely sensational. He's really took it into the next level. And you're looking at his stat line in terms of this season, the fact that he's done what he's done throwing the ball. You have to look at the numbers. He's thrown for 4,153 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 106.4 quarterback rating on the season. He's 14-2. He has the opportunity to play for the number one seed in week 18 in a win or go home scenario. Why is he not a firm? He isn't, people mention him here and there as an MVP candidate, but when you hear MVP, you're hearing Lamar, you're hearing Josh Allen, and you're also hearing to an extent Joe Burrow. But this guy has had a marvelous season. His team is 14-2. He has more wins than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and a lot more wins than Joe Burrow. He has a chance to get that ultimate validation, the ultimate regular season validation, in getting that one seed. And even if they don't win the Lions, still had a marvelous win. Still had 14 wins on the season. Why is Sam Darnold not up there in terms of the MVP race? Why is he not a firm candidate or a potential favorite? He's just, he's one of those. He's, top 5 looking, outside, or top 3 outside looking in. He's not even really clearly in the top 3. A lot of people have him in that 4, 5, 6 range. I just don't understand it. He's just been absolutely sensational, been so consistent. And he's not going to have a chance to win any sort of award because they curbed their rule of comeback player of the year, going to somebody more who didn't really play last season, compared to someone who, was a backup and now became a starter. It's different when it's injury and all that. They kind of curbed it. So but he's absolutely sensational. And he's been a huge part of this Vikings team. And also his play puts Vikings in it puts the Vikings in a very, very, very odd position in this upcoming summer, this upcoming off season, with the likes of JJ McCarthy sitting on the bench, Sam Darnold. So he's going to be up for a contract from how he played this season. He's going to have a right to ask for a good amount of money, a lot of money, just based on the performances and his consistency. The way he has produced, he's been great. He's been absolutely great. So why can't he ask for a $50 million contract, somewhere in that range, from some of the money that we see is thrown at quarterbacks? So the Vikings, they have, a lot of people, even in the media, they say it's the clear answer is to keep Sam Darnold and build around him. But you did draft JJ McCarthy high in the first round, sitting there on the bench. For me, it's a tough, difficult decision to make, because you're betting on someone based on 1 year in production. If you keep Sam Darnold rather than the rookie you brought on, you drafted to be the future of your franchise. Who, keep in mind, it's not like he played a little bit and didn't really show the greatest and got benched or anything. This is a guy that hasn't played NFL football yet. He tore his meniscus and he missed his entire rookie season. So for me, that's a very, very complicated situation for Minnesota to handle in the offseason. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Minnesota now, with the way that, by the way, this game, look, it was a one-possession game, yes. But to be honest, it really wasn't that close. I mean, Packers were hanging on at certain moments. They were down 20-3. Minnesota had the ball up 20-3. In that third quarter, with the chance to essentially put the game away then and there. Sam Darnold throws that interception that gives the Packers that opportunity to have that short drive of a touchdown. And then whenever the Packers defense needed to make a stop, right after that, the Packers defense couldn't make a stop. This game wasn't really that close. Minnesota, they were doing whatever they needed to do. They were very efficient on third down. They were getting it done. That Packers offense lacked a little bit of explosiveness. Didn't really have the cutting edge as well. They had an opportunity on fourth down earlier to keep the game closer, or to keep to get in and get a touchdown on a 4th and 2, and approaching the red zone. They're not able to get it. Jordan Love is not able to connect. I believe it was with Reed. I believe. I may be wrong, but again, overall, the Vikings just outplayed them. The Vikings overall, they just outplayed the Packers, and they just have the better team. And honestly, I thought the Packers had the opportunity to come in and do a statement, make a statement sort of performance entering the playoffs on the road against a division rival. I was a little bit underwhelmed with the whole unit. I was underwhelmed with, I thought the defense would be able to sustain this Vikings offense a little bit better. I thought the Packers offense would be much more efficient. You take away the late game heroics, they didn't have much to show, that offense early on. The one touchdown that they had came from a turnover that gave them a short field. Other than that, that offense did not move up and down the field the way I expected them to do. The defense didn't get off the field when they needed to do. I was just overall, that game just sort of, there's no this happened here or this happened there. No, the Vikings are just the better team. The Vikings just proved they're the better team. And 27-25, I think that this Green Bay, that flatters Green Bay, because it was not that game was not that close. It was not as close as what the scoreline says it was. So Green Bay, they need to recollect and they need to refigure themselves out, because I was disappointed in them. As far as Minnesota, now they have a chance to play for that 1 seed. They take on the Detroit Lions. They got to go away to Detroit. It was flexed. It was the Sunday night game. It decides the 1 seed. 2 teams, both at 14-2. By the way, that's never happened. This is the most wins 2 teams have had combined ever, which is, it's a little different now that there's week 18, the extra added game. Both teams being 14-2. That probably has a lot to do with it as well. But 14-2 versus 14-2 is ridiculous. And to think one team is going to be 14 wins and the 5 seed. One of these 2 teams will be the 5 seeds. 5 seed is going to be one. The winner is the 1 seed. The loser is the 5 seed. That's a huge difference. Not only the fact that you get a bye, but also that you're having to go on the road in that wild card round, and you're probably going to have to go on the road the rest of the playoffs, quite frankly. Yeah, that has a huge impact, in my opinion. That has a huge impact, and both teams are going to be up for it. I thought Detroit, they showed some weaknesses defensively, trying to contain that 49ers offense. I thought of Brock Purdy, despite the 2 interceptions, and that 49ers offense was able to get a lot of production. And lately, Detroit's defense has declined. A lot to do with the injuries on that unit. I think they might struggle going up against, this Vikings offense. But I think the great part about this, game is seeing how Brian Flores in that great Vikings defense can limit what this Lions offense can do. Because this Lions offense, they can hit you every which way. They have trickery, as we saw in that Niners game, hook and ladder to score a touchdown. They have trickery. They are physically dominant up front. They can run the ball really well. They have a good balance of physicality and finesse. Jared Goff is the perfect quarterback for that system, making the plays when he needs to. Not necessarily being a game manager, but not being out there. He doesn't need to win the game. He doesn't need to go out Brett Favre 99 miles per hour and win the game. He could be methodical. When the receiver's open, he'll hit them. The crossers over the middle of the field, he's so effective at those. They have the great balance with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams with his threat to beat you downfield and his ability to be tricky to defend with his jet motions and his reverses and all that, the trickery that you can use with him. They just have everything that the Detroit Lions offense. So how can this Minnesota Vikings defense under Brian Flores contain them? I thought they struggled earlier on. Detroit won this game earlier on this season, and that Vikings defense struggled to contain them. This time around, where is it? How did they do it? Look, obviously, I'm gonna slightly favor Detroit. Just think that the season that Detroit had so far, they've been literally the number 1 seed throughout basically past week 3, week 4, something like that. The season that Detroit has had, the fact that they're at home with that atmosphere, I can't see them letting this opportunity slip and go down to the 5 seed. I think Dan Campbell and this Lions team, they're gonna rise up, and if they have to go that extra mile, they're gonna do it, even with the injuries. If they have to force turnovers to make a difference, they're gonna do it. If they need to steal a possession here and there with, I'm not saying onside kick like he did against Buffalo, like Dan Campbell did against Buffalo, no. But maybe through a turnover, maybe a special teams fake, whatever. If they need to steal that possession, they will get it done. And they have to get it done, because I think the proposition of them reaching the Super Bowl with how injured they are compared to the 1 seed and the 5 seed is 2 different ball games, and it completely changes the story for Detroit if they're the 5 seed. And I think Detroit needs this a little bit more because of the injuries that they're facing. Because Minnesota, yes, their home atmosphere is great, but at least they're generally, and nobody's healthy, but generally for this late in the season, they're healthy. Detroit, they're not. They're banged up, especially on the defensive side. So getting that 1 seed will be absolutely game-changing for them. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to the Commanders' overtime win over the Falcons.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit, I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed the Vikings win over the Packers. We move on to discuss the Commanders. So the Commanders, they got that overtime win over the Atlanta Falcons. It was a great game on Sunday Night Football. Lived up. I was absolutely, really satisfied with how the game went. I thought we had some good football. I thought we had some talent shown on both sides of the ball. I thought the back and forth nature to it was special. How Atlanta came out to jumped an early lead in the second quarter, getting up 10 points, and then the Commanders methodically getting themselves back into the game and into the lead, and the Falcons suddenly needing that late drive to tie it up. And the way Michael Penix executed that drive and made that final play to get them in, but then it was Washington who got the victory. Jaden Daniels leads that winning overtime drive, touchdown, Zach Ertz, game over. Look, obviously this was a big loss for Atlanta Falcons, because of the fact that the Falcons are trying to get into the playoffs. They're trying to win the division. And what they did now is they had the ball, they had their opportunity, they controlled their own destiny. The Falcons did. They controlled their own destiny. And they had the opportunity now, if they win this game and they win their next game against the Carolina Panthers, winnable game, they won the division. Now with losing the game, they give the opportunity back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have their own destiny. They win. They win against the Saints, who are awful, and yeah, they're awful. They've been terrible. They beat the Saints, who, they're in the playoffs, and it's that simple for the Buccaneers. And Atlanta, they had their opportunities throughout the duration of the season. Some of the slip-ups, it's been horrible. They had their opportunities. This division, they should have won it. They should have won it quite easily. But they had a bad slip-ups. And now, despite the Buccaneers, them having the tiebreaker advantage over the Buccaneers, with the 2 wins over the Buccaneers are still probably going to win the division. And look, the Falcons, they made that late season change at quarterback, going with the rookie Michael Penix. Kirk Cousins, he hasn't been good enough. Yes, he's coming off an Achilles, but the performance has just not been good enough. 88 quarterback rating, 18 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. He's really been garbage, or hasn't been to the level that he's getting paid. He's getting paid a lot of money, and Raheem Morris decided to make the switch to go with Michael Penix. And look, early on, I have to say, Michael Penix, early on looked a little bit shaky. He had a throw, he missed a wide open receiver over the middle, then followed up with the interception, where it was a really bad interception. Looked like the Commanders' safety was the intended receiver. Maybe a little bit miscommunication. He expected him to break out on the route. I think it was Drake London. I believe it was Drake London broke inside. Miscommunication there leads to that interception. And this was my first time watching Michael Penix, so I was like early on, that looked a little shaky. I don't know. I don't know. Is this the guy? Then he came out in the second drive, and I have to say, I think I was convinced with one throw he made, and that one throw wasn't even a completion. It was, I believe, it was attempting to hit Charlie Warner down the middle, and the way he got it, the way he threaded the needle in between four defenders who had, who, if it was a bad ball, had an opportunity to play that football. The way he threaded it, with the velocity that he threw it, and the precision and the accuracy and the timing of that throw, and it ends up, Warner didn't catch it because Warner ends up getting, Charlie Warner ends up getting hit sticked, and the ball jars loose. But it was an amazing throw, and it was an absolutely incredible throw. And I thought after that, when he made that play that didn't end up actually being, the play didn't happen. But after that, I thought we saw a little bit different Michael Penix. Number one, this offense was balanced. Bijan Robinson, 17 carries for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. But we saw Penix, who was a little bit methodical, made the plays when he needed to, couldn't really stop the bleeding with the Commanders coming back into the game, but he kept them in the game, and he led that drive at the end, which was the thing I was really most impressed with. He led that drive in the end where they ended up getting the touchdown to tie the game, despite he had a little bit of help from penalties, but he also had some difficult circumstances. On 1st and goal, the ball gets snapped over Bijan Robinson, who's in a Wildcat. It's a 22-yard loss, and suddenly, the Falcons are at 2nd and goal from the 30 almost. But he was able to make a chunk play to, get it down to a closer 3rd and goal to Drake London. The 3rd and goal, they go incomplete, and then 4th and goal, he threads the needle again. Really good throw to Kyle Pitts, and this touchdown to tie the game. And obviously, that touchdown came with around a minute and some change left. So going for 2 at that moment, I don't think was the greatest decision. I don't think would have been the greatest decision. And Raheem Morris agreed with me. He decided to kick it. I'm good with that. They go to overtime, and then Jaden Daniels did what Jaden Daniels did. Look, Jaden Daniels, he's a big time baller. Rookie of the year, forget that. He blew that out of the water. He won that months ago. He's just a baller. And to get the Commanders back into the playoffs, which the Commanders, by the way, with this win, they clinched that playoff position. The way he did it, the plays he made periodically throughout the game, not just throwing, but rushing to 19 carries, 127 yards. And look, every time he runs the ball, I get scared. Some of the hits he take at his size, sometimes he doesn't need to take care of his body better because he's not the most he doesn't have the most stature. He's a skinny guy. He's a skinny quarterback, but he can take the punishment, and he's not afraid to run, and he's not afraid to get physical. And the plays he made with his legs to extend drives, some of the throws he made with precision. He had 3 touchdowns as well. The winning throw on 3rd and goal in overtime, on the biggest moment. Zach Ertz making an amazing catch. Nobody wants to talk about the catch, but that catch was literally his fingertips. It was an incredible catch. And Zach Ertz, he's a certified professional. He's been doing it for a really long time now. He's been in the league for a while, 34 years old. And he's been big part of this of this Commanders team this season, just making timely plays. You look at the stats, he's not really dominating. He only has 610 yards this season, but he's making timely plays when needed. He's that security blanket for Jaden Daniels, who every rookie, they need that security tight end. They need that security player. That's exactly what Zach Ertz is. He also has 6 touchdowns, so he's been important to part of this team in the red zone as well. He had 2 touchdowns against Atlanta on this past Sunday. Watch out for the Washington Commanders. They're a really, really good team. Now, the thing is, right now, it's looking like most likely or not, they're going to take on the Los Angeles Rams in the playoffs. Wow. That's a good game. If you go back, you remember Dan Quinn, actually, he's won. He's taken his team into Los Angeles and beat Sean McVay's Rams before. He did it in Atlanta the year after they lost the Super Bowl. They beat that Rams team, that first Rams team to rise up under Sean McVay. He beat them and eliminated them in the wild card round as a road underdog in the playoffs. he will have an opportunity again to do that, this time with the rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Chances are. Now, you never know with the seeding. Things might, I don't know exactly. I don't think both teams are locked in. But most likely that's what it's looking like. So yeah, I'm excited for that one, if we get it. And I'm excited about this Commanders team. I think they play some really good ball. And Jaden Daniels, what he's done this regular season, I don't see why he can't continue to do it in the playoffs. I don't think this moment is too big for him. The way he's playing, he's just an absolute baller. They're so balanced with Jaden Daniel, and yeah, I think he's been very, very impressive. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the Bengals and whether or not they can sneak into the playoffs.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed the Commanders' overtime win over the Atlanta Falcons. We move on. The Cincinnati Bengals. So the Cincinnati Bengals got the win over the Denver Broncos in a game they had to win, 30-24. Cincinnati needed that game, just a chance to sneak in week 18. They needed to win just to even have a chance. And they're still not in. They still need to win the game in week 18 against the Steelers. They still need help. The Broncos, they squandered an opportunity to clinch a spot in the postseason. Now they have to do it next week against Kansas City, a Kansas City team that all likely or not are going to be resting players, having that number one seed wrapped up with that win over Pittsburgh on Christmas. So Cincinnati has the opportunity now. So Denver, they got to win that game. They don't beat Kansas City because of this loss to Cincinnati. They don't beat Kansas City, then they're in huge danger, because then they need Miami to lose to the Jets, and then they need Cincinnati to lose to Pittsburgh. So it's a difficult situation there. But going back to the Cincinnati Bengals now, can they sneak into the playoffs? Yeah, I think that they can. Obviously, they're still alive, but I do think it's difficult. But it just seems like it's going that way with what Cincinnati has done. They were number one. They were 4-8. They didn't even nobody believed that they'll even be alive for any sort of mathematical chance in week 18, let alone this is an okay probability. I didn't even think they had that opportunity. 4-8 to come back from that to win 4 straight. Denver look, I think Denver squandered an opportunity, and I think this could get really, really bad, really, really bad for Denver. It can be really, really bad news for Denver. Now, Bo Nix, he's had a great rookie year. He's been, outstanding. Hasn't been quite Jaden Daniels, but it's been a good runner-up in terms of offensive rookie of the year. He's been great. But and in this game, I thought he was solid. 24 of 31, 219, 3 touchdowns and interception. I thought overall he played well. But Denver, in this one, it was an opportunity, a missed opportunity. Because look, Cincinnati, and in Cincinnati, he's been doing this all year, to be honest. Cincinnati gave Denver so many opportunities to get back into this game and win. So many. Cincinnati also themselves, if we want to be critical on them, they should have won this game maybe 4 different times late down the stretch. The missed opportunities. Number one, earlier on in the game, the turnovers. The turnover on downs, on 4th down, the points that they left on the board. It wouldn't have even been that close if they were just more efficient early on, and they were able to either take advantage and complete those 4th downs, or just kick the kick the field goals. So early on, they left points on the table. Despite that, they had a 7-point lead late in the 4th quarter, and they give up a touchdown, essentially almost a Hail Mary touchdown on 4th down. Bo Nix throwing to, I believe it was Mims. It was Mims that made that late play. Yeah, I think it was Mims. Yeah, Marvin Mims Jr. Can't happen. And not only that, Cincinnati gave up another opportunity. Joe Burrow, he got the ball. Number one, Denver, they forced Cincinnati off the field, but they get the ball back. And Cincinnati, they get a field goal. Clear cutout field goal Cincinnati gets. And Evan McPherson, who's out. So the Bengals had Cade York, and Cade York, he misses the winning field goal. He misses it, and you're thinking, oh boy, a 33-yard field goal, he misses it for the game. You're thinking, oh, this is just Cincinnati's season. It's just just a great way to define Cincinnati's season, but the Bengals are able to get the ball back. And go and get the winning touchdown. And so many opportunities that Cincinnati had to win that game. And if you want to look at it the other way, so many opportunities Denver had to take this game away because of Cincinnati's negligence. And Cincinnati's lack of capitalizing and finishing, or Cincinnati's lack of being able to finish it. Denver Broncos couldn't capitalize. And now with this loss, Denver put themselves in a position, essentially, they gotta go. No, they don't have to go on the road. They gotta beat a division rival. They gotta beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And the thing is, the fortunate thing is, it's looking like Kansas City's gonna rest players, and why not? You're 15-1. They've played so many football games in the last couple of years. Mahomes, literally, every year he's been a starter, has made at least an AFC championship. There's just so many football games he's played. Why not give him that rest in Week 18? Now, Kansas City, they got to do a good job of being able to balance out the fact that they're not going to play next week. So you don't want guys being too rusty, not playing football, not playing any football, any game action in 2 weeks. So I definitely think there's going to be some tinkering going on for Andy Reid. But there's no way Kansas City is going to take this full on for 48 minutes. And, Kansas City Chiefs, not saying that this has anything to do with their game plan at all or anything like that. But let's be honest, every team in the AFC would rather have the Denver Broncos in the playoffs. Cincinnati will get into the playoffs and they'll have a say. Denver, they'll probably be first round food for anybody. They'll just be, they'll just be there. But yeah, it's just it's, it's unfortunate for Miami and Cincinnati. The fact that Denver's taking on a team that's eliminated. That's really unfortunate. That is really, really unfortunate. And the team's gonna have to rest. But at the same time, Cincinnati, man, their defense has not been good enough this season, and someone needs to pay for that. Miami, their situation is a little different, injuries and all that. Look, Miami, I think they have a realistic shot. They have a better chance to make the playoffs, obviously, over Cincinnati. The fact that they control their own destiny. But the trick to Tagovailoa, is he gonna play? He was out. What's his status? His hip injury is very uncertain. Jets right now, they open up as the underdog. But if there's no Tua, I don't know who I'd favor in that one. So a lot of things to come down to the wire. But again, look, as much as I think Denver might slip up, if the city is not taking this, full on from minute one to the end of the game, I really struggle to believe that Denver is gonna let this slip away. That would be a monumentous choke. So can the Bengals sneak into the playoffs? Well, obviously, yeah, they can. But will they? I think it's a very, very limited proposition. I think it's not that likely. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to the Rams clinching the NFC West division title.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed the Bengals and whether or not they can sneak into the playoffs. We move on to discuss the Rams. So the Rams clinched the NFC West division title. They defeated fellow NFC West rival Arizona Cardinal on Saturday, 13-9 victory for them. Methodical game, but the Rams were able to get it done. To win that one. And then the Seahawks, they also won on Thursday night, 6-3, underwhelming win over the Chicago Bears. But despite the Seahawks being a one-game reach of the Rams clinched the NFC West, because even if the Seahawks beat the Rams in Week 18, both teams are level in 10-7, and then the tiebreaker head-to-head would be split, but Rams have the strength of victory tiebreaker. They wrapped it up this past Sunday with some fixtures going their way, and therefore, if the strength of schedule went the Seahawks' way, then it would have came down to, Week 18 NFC West title deciding game. But the fact that the Rams had that second tiebreaker, the Seahawks, they have no chance. They have no tiebreakers over the Rams. The Rams have that advantage. So the Rams have won the NFC West. And look, you're looking at it from an objective point of view, trying to analyze this as a fan, looking forward to NFL playoffs. just looking at it from a spectator that has no biases or anything of that sort, you're happy the Rams are in the playoffs. Because that's an extra team in the NFC that can make some noise. The Seattle Seahawks, as I said about Denver Broncos, even more so with the Seattle Seahawks, they would be food for anybody in that first round, in that wild card round. They will, or whoever, even if the Seahawks were the home team, if you have the likes of the Commanders or the Commanders or the Vikings, or the Packers going into Seattle, Seattle would be food to any of them. Even with Seattle Seahawks being at home, even with that atmosphere. Let's be for real. Now you get the Commanders playing the Rams, or potentially the Vikings or Packers. I believe it's actually the Commanders. Actually, I keep saying Vikings and Packers, but I think both teams are semi-locked into their positions. That will be interesting. Packers taking on Seattle, Packers taking on the Rams, that will be interesting. I'd say both games are around 50-50. And the fact that the Rams have Matthew Stafford, a guy that can make any throw on the field, somebody who's went on a deep run, made the Super Bowl. Sean McVay as well. He's coached in multiple Super Bowls now. He's won a Super Bowl. You're looking at it. When you talk about a team trying to make a run, head coach and quarterback, huge parts of the team. We're talking about two guys that has huge playoff experience, both won a Super Bowl, compared to the Seahawks, who have a rookie head coach who's never coached a playoff game in his life, as a head coach, as an NFL coach, who's never coached an NFL playoff game in his life, and a Geno Smith, who's 0-1 in the playoffs for his whole career. It's two different levels, two different stratospheres. And now the Rams, they got healthy as well. They have Puka Nacua, they got Cooper Kupp, they got the run game with Kyron Williams at the wheel. I ought to look out for this Rams team. They're not the most talented of teams as a unit, but they're well coached. They got that great quarterback that keep them alive. Who would have thought let's go back to the Rams. The Rams had that bad loss to the Bears earlier this season. Really, really bad loss to the Bears earlier this season. And then they lost to the Packers after that. And they were at 1-4. 1-4 through their first 5 games. And they went on to win the division. That's incredible. And it just shows, if you have the talent and you're just a little bit banged up here and there, but you're able to withstand, the punches, and you take it into gut, you get your players back, you have the mission in mind, and you remain, and the big part about that is their coaching. They're well coached. So as soon as the players get back, they're able to get that cohesiveness back right away. They're able to go on the run. They're not psychologically taken aback from the fact that they are 1-4. They don't let that play a psychological role in them. They don't put their heads down. They keep their head up. They continue to fight and slowly crawl their way back, not only back into the playoffs, but they win a freaking division and they get a home playoff game. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely impressed. That's great coaching. That's great leadership with the quarterback you have in Matt Stafford. That's great play as well from Matt Stafford, who's had a really, really good season, underrated season. Has been a Pro Bowl caliber player. 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 93 quarterback rating, 3,762 yards, 65.8 completion percentage. I'm doing my, rankings for quarterbacks this season. He's definitely in my top 10. He's been good. He's been underrated. And and now also you have an opportunity. The Rams, they're locked into that 4th seed. They're not finishing, ahead. Actually, or they're locked into that 3 seed. More likely than not. They're not finishing ahead of Detroit. They're not finishing ahead of Philadelphia. There is the Buccaneers, who are 1 seed behind them at 9-7, and I don't know exactly what the tiebreaker is that comes between the Rams and the Buccaneers. I don't believe those two teams have played each other this season. But the Rams do have a proposition. Maybe they can rest the players. And if you can rest Matthew Stafford in Week 18, an older quarterback, people don't realize Matthew Stafford is 36 years old. You can get him some rest. You can get Cooper Kupp some rest as well. He's been a little bit banged up in the last couple of years. That will do wonders for both of them. And the Rams are expecting for Matthew Stafford to sit out in Week 18. So, I think the Rams are in a good spot right now. They are. And what they've been able to do to come back and win this division is great. Again, they can do something in the playoffs. When you got that great head coach, when you have that great quarterback, you will be a factor. And I believe the Rams will be a factor. And we shouldn't sleep on them in terms of potentially making a run to the NFC Championship game. Why not? Why not? I believe they can beat anybody in this NFC. I really do. And they can lose to a few of these teams as well. But they can beat any one of those teams. So look out for the Rams to make that late season, to make a run into the postseason. And you need that luck. You need the right matchups. But they get that first round at home too. So I've been absolutely impressed. It's been a season. It's been a season of resilience, of determination, of mental strength, and they've been rewarded. And I don't like saying these nice things about any team in the NFC West because I am a 49er fan. But as a 49er fan, and I think I'm speaking for all 49er fans, we will gladly have the Rams in the playoffs over them dirty Seattle Seahawks. So, show breaker coming up. When we come back, we will react to the Lakers trading D'Lo and the Kings firing Mike Brown. Before the break, we discussed the Rams winning the NFC West. We move on to discuss some of the news that happened in the NBA. In the NBA, these past couple of days. First thing, the Lakers, they were able to trade D'Angelo Russell away. They traded D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis and 3 future second round picks in 2027, 2030, and 2031 to the Nets, and were able to land Finney Smith and Shake Milton. Finney Smith is the key acquisition in this one. Dorian Finney-Smith for the Lakers. Finney Smith, he's shooting a career high 45% from the field. He's a great 3-and-D and a great plug-in player that can, play with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. He'll make an impact. I'll compare him to the impact that Kentavious Caldwell had for the Lakers team that won a championship. Key thing is, I think Finney Smith is a better defender, and the way he's been shooting this season, or he's shot 43.5%. I'm sorry, not 45.9. He's 45.9 from the field. He shot 43.5% from three. I think he's a better defender, and from what he's shown this season in terms of shooting, I think he, Davis Caldwell Pope, he sniffed the 40 percentage, but 43.5. Davis Caldwell Pope was never that great of a shooter, and he's not as good of a defender as Finney Smith is as well. So it's just, he's the perfect role player to play next to LeBron, AD, Austin Reeves as well. And I think he'll work well off the ball next to Austin Reeves, as he'll get a lot of open jump shots because of them collapsing on LeBron and AD, a lot of open threes. And he's going to be playing meaningful basketball as well for the Lakers, with him being at Brooklyn Nets. It's different playing for the Lakers and the Nets. I think that's a really, really good acquisition. And yes, look, obviously D'Angelo Russell is a better player than Dorian Finney-Smith. Obviously. The problem with D'Angelo Russell is you get this with D'Angelo Russell. Zigzag in terms of performances. You will get a high of him. He has the ability to go off for 50 and be efficient while doing it. But he also has the ability to go 0 from 10 from the field and have 0 points and smoke a few layups. That's the thing with D'Angelo Russell. You want to play for a championship team, you have to have a level of consistency. And that's what Dorian Finney-Smith does. Obviously, it's consistently like right here. It's nothing great. But he fits in with LeBron and AD. These 3 guys are valuable in the league. They're valuable in playing, and him playing that way next to LeBron, it's of extreme value. Because LeBron will be able to find. He doesn't need to handle the ball. Austin Reeves can handle the ball, and LeBron can handle the ball. All he needs to do is shoot the thing and guard the opposition's best player and limit them. And defensively, guarding defensively, the Lakers have been a little bit weak. The Lakers shooting has been weak as well. It's just perfect. And now with D'Angelo Russell, we get rid of that inconsistencies. There's been moments where he stopped trying to see, and it's just been failing. It's just been failing. So get rid of D'Angelo Russell and bring in a guy like Finney Smith. I think great trade for the Lakers, and I think that will make an impact. I think that move will make an impact for the Lakers. I'll look out for the Lakers this season now. I think they can do something. Now it's going to be difficult. The West is still difficult. The Mavericks are still there. The Nuggets are still there. The Timberwolves are still there. Phoenix Suns, I think they're going to be better this season as well. They've been pretty good. They had that really good win on Christmas. Even though right now they're 11th, I think they'll be better than what the standings say right now. Houston, I don't know if they'll be that great, but they are a 3rd seed. They can have an impact. Grizzlies, they'll be a really, really good team now with Zach Edey and John Morant being back as well. And we know OKC is OKC. But that move that the Lakers did to get Finney Smith, you can't just look at the name and say, Finney Smith, that's a good move. That's a valuable player. Those 3-and-D players, they're becoming more and more valuable in this league. And the Lakers are also able to trade away D'Lo as well. That gives Lakers a little bit more flexibility in terms of making more moves. I think Lakers, they still have a move for them. Keep in mind, they still have those couple future first round picks that they can trade away. I think the Lakers are going to do more in this deadline, more to maximize LeBron and AD and get that 3rd guy next to him, LeBron and AD, that can do some heavy lifting as well. I look for Lakers to continue to be buyers and to continue to buy something even bigger than Finney Smith. I think Finney Smith is just one part of the puzzle, and it's a good part of the puzzle. Is a great addition for the Lakers. Now we move on. The Sacramento Kings. So the Sacramento Kings, they fired Mike Brown. Mike Brown that won Coach of the Year in 2023, led them to the playoffs. They lost in 7 to the Warriors. Overall, he's been a really good coach, and he was rewarded with an extension this past summer. But it just shows how things could get raw quickly. And Sacramento Kings, they have a little bit of a history as well. The way what you saw, what Mike Malone said. I don't know if it was it was an oppressor, but I don't know if it was after a game or something, offering up his support and saying how he's not surprised because of the Kings. But how did it go wrong so fast? And look, yeah, they haven't had a great start to the season. They were 14-9. They were on a losing streak when they fired him, losing to the Nuggets, Lakers again, Pacers, Pistons. And in that Pistons loss as well, he called out De'Aaron Fox in the post-game presser, talking about when De'Aaron Fox fouled him from 3, and he was essentially from 3, and essentially after the game, Mike Brown was saying, you're down 3. Why are you in a situation where you're having to, why aren't you already up on your man? Or why are you in a position where you're having to chase to close him out? You should be all up on your man. You're down 3. It makes no sense. And he was very, very articulate and very willing to call out his star player, De'Aaron Fox. And also there was a little bit of murmurings. We saw what Lou Williams said. I don't know what connections he has with the Kings, talking about how maybe he lost a little bit of the locker room. He wanted DeMar DeRozan to come off the bench, and maybe there was certain Kings player not having it. I definitely think, De'Aaron Fox had to have a part of it. The way it went down, how quickly it was, also the way how he was fired as well, not really being told and all that. Obviously, that's always classless, and we never appreciate and respect that. That was obviously horrible. But overall, look, I don't know. It's a tricky one. It happened so fast. It made no sense to me. I thought they were, I thought Mike Brown is a really, really good coach, and he was doing some good things with the Kings. And the one moment, one slip out of adversity with the start to the season, and now you're firing him just after giving him an extension. What is the direction? What is this? Obviously you want to back your players, and you always want to respect your players and take the player's side. But this is just a little too much to me. This is just a little bit too much, and it's a little bit of a message as well that this Kings ownership group saying to the players, we're riding and die with you, which I don't think you should be giving that much power to a group of players that, quite frankly, they haven't really accomplished much. None of these players, De'Aaron Fox has never won a playoff series in his life. His biggest accomplishment is taking the Warriors to 7. That's his biggest accomplishment. In a series, by the way, they should have won. They were the 3rd seed, going up against the 6th seed of the Warriors. So we have to be 100% objective in this one. And I don't know how it went so wrong. I don't know. De'Aaron Fox, he had, when Mike Brown had some harsh comments about that bad foul he committed on Jaden Ivey at the end of that game on Thursday night at the loss to Detroit, he said, I feel like that there's this perception that people thought that we were at odds. You can ask anybody in the organization. Me and Mike have never had an argument. We could disagree with something. We talked about it and it was gone. So I have to say that Cole happened. He did say that. But again, it's just awfully fishy to me. Something must have happened though. He must have lost the locker room. There's no other way the Sacramento Kings ownership group would do this. But, I'm not here to speculate. At the end of the day, I'm a journalist, so I can only speak on the facts. And the facts is, well, they fired him. Simple. I don't agree with it, obviously, but it is what it is. Thank you guys for tuning in to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like